Let's take a spin through the French papers today with Solange Moujat, who's on set with me. Hello, Solange.
Hi, Nadia.
You're going to be starting off then, well, I think throughout the programme, actually talking about the tributes that are being paid to Jacques Chirac, and you're starting off with the French press.
Yeah, and let's start naturally with Le Figaro, the right-leaning paper. In its editorial and on its front page today, they actually go with the words of love. It says, "Nous vous aimons," to the man who they say was profoundly French, a man that for the Figaro represented with his grandeur and his doubts the panacea of what it is to be French. Now, La Croix, the Catholic paper, pays tribute much along the same lines. A French story is their headline, and they say that even if in the early years Chirac was met with much distrust and often called the roi fainéant, or the lazy king, La Croix says that in the end Chirac comes out with a stellar record, that of a king who loved his people and who was loved by them.
He had a kind of love-hate relationship, though, didn't he, here in France? And that's been coming up in lots of the obituaries you've been reading.
Yeah, Le Monde has an interesting article entitled "Chirac So Long Disliked." They explain that it was only once he left the political arena that his solid unpopularity gave way to affection and popularity ratings in the 70th percentile. Now, Le Parisien aujourd'hui en France attributes this surge in popularity to his personality, to his image as the président sympa, or the nice president. The paper attributes this affection as well to nostalgia, that our own personal histories are linked to that era, and that within each of us there is a little bit of Jacques Chirac.
Well, the papers, though, aren't just full of praise today, are they?
No, they're not. And Libération has an absolutely stunning front page today that says, "Sans ChiChi." Now, this refers to Jacques Chirac's nickname, and it also refers to his ability to, quote, cut the bull, his way of appearing as a sort of simple man without ChiChi, without mannerisms. But in its editorial, Libé says that Chirac was a political killer of sorts, a fenceman, one that was in a hurry to get to power, but once there, didn't know what to do with it. The left-leaning L'Obs also highlights that not everyone is praising Jacques Chirac, and some are rightfully reminding us of his casserole or of his baggage. They namely point to the left, to a few left MPs who tweeted about this, and to the head of the site Mediapart, who said it's important to remember that Chirac was the first president to be found guilty of corruption. The site argues that Chirac was so busy climbing the ladder and holding on to power that in the end he left a meager legacy and did very little to actually help the French people.
Yeah, and some of the foreign press as well, pretty scathing in their sum-ups of his life and work.
Yeah, the European edition of the American site Politico says Chirac was a lovable failure, a man who liked to grandstand but left France weaker, an everyman politician that behind the scenes was a backstabber. And paradoxically, it's this kind of combative politics that he helped create that is making him loved today. That's according to Der Standard, the Austrian paper. They say that France has been looking for a father figure, and they're now finding it in Jacques Chirac, because the other options, his successors, gambled away their favor by using Chiracian-like combative politics.
Quite a lot of thorny tributes as well in the British press today.
Yeah, let's start with the tabloid The Sun. It's easy to see what they're highlighting if you look at their headline: "Disgraced former French president who was convicted of corruption has died." Now to the Independent. They're not having it at all with this father of the country idea. A French opinion writer in the paper says that, quote, "It shouldn't be controversial to say that Chirac was flawed," end quote. That talking about things like when he said smell and noise in regard to immigrants in 1991, or the fact that he was convicted of corruption, talking about that is not akin to being disrespectful or having, quote, a ding-dong, the witch is dead moment. That talking about Chirac's faults can help us better choose our leaders today, and that it is dangerous to have a, quote, sudden onset of amnesia immediately following the death of a powerful man.
Very interesting, Solange. Just finally then, you found some stuff taking a look at the clothing of Jacques Chirac, specifically his trousers.
Yeah, it's impossible to forget how he wore his trousers or his pants. And it is the first thing I thought of one of the first things I thought of when he died. Way higher than the belly button, up to the armpits. That is how Slate characterizes it. But what's interesting here is that Slate says that his sartorial choices actually point to some key things about him. That he was a man of a bygone era of the 1960s and 70s when wearing high pants was fashionable. That it was a way to hide his growing belly and his age. And that with his hands in his pockets, he was sort of a way of showing that he was a normal guy. And And Slate says that one of his favorite insults to people was "Vous n'avez rien dans les pantalons," or you don't have big ones under your pants. And they argue that by wearing his trousers so high, that he was showing that he does have big ones in his pants, that he was doing, according to Slate, the Elvis pelvis, end quote, or a show of virility. For Jacques Chirac was many things, including, according to the rumors, a ladies' man.
Yeah, so I hear. Thank you very much, Solange Mouchard, taking us through some French and international reaction to the death of Jacques Chirac on the programme. And if you'd like more press reviews from Solange and the rest of our press reviewing team, you can head, as always, to our website, france24.com.